I, Philip Edward Davis.
The Deputy Prime Minister is sworn in. After all the rallies and the voting, we've got the official results of Decision 2012. The Sandyport Resort catches fire. We'll tell you what investigators know so far. The Bahamas Tonight starts now.
Covering the islands of the Bahamas, ZNS Network presents The Bahamas Tonight.
This portion of the news is brought to you by McDonald's. McDonald's, I'm loving it.
The country's second in command takes his post. Good evening, everyone. I'm Keishla Adderley, and welcome to the Bahamas Tonight, the National Report. Prime Minister the Right Honorable Perry Christie made his first cabinet appointment today. As he received the instruments of appointment as Deputy Prime Minister, Philip Brave Davis was also sworn in as a minister whose portfolio will include improving inner-city living and nationwide infrastructure. Prime Minister Christie, meantime, told hundreds of guests gathered at Government House today that within a 24-hour window, the remainder of his cabinet will be in place.
Philip Edward Davis, do swear that I will be faithful and bear true allegiance to Her Majesty's continued succession, heirs and successors, according to law, so help me God.
The Honorable Philip Brave Davis began his career in government today, appointed second in command of the Christie-led government.
I, Philip Edward Davis, being appointed minister, do swear.
The new Deputy Prime Minister, as Minister of Works and Urban Development, will focus on infrastructural and social development. But first, he turned his attention to national healing.
As we move forward to make our Bahamas better, I extend to Bahamians of all political persuasions the olive branch of peace and goodwill. And let me begin this by offering my sincere thanks and appreciation to the former Prime Minister, Right Honorable Hubert Ingram, and his executive team for the good that they would have done.
There was also a word to members of the public service.
We offer special thanks to the men and women of the public service and the security forces, who in our exercise of democracy displayed Monday past, once again showed their commitment to our beloved country. Your work continues to shape the nation, and to you, dedicated public officers in the thousands, I salute your commitment to our country.
Though the first cabinet appointment has been made, there are many more to come, according to Prime Minister Christie by week's end. He made this announcement about two of the more pressing ones.
I am in the process of establishing a government. I will move immediately upon leaving here to ensure that today I appoint those ministers that will have the responsibility of dealing with the two pressing issues of our country, that is crime and the economy. You can look forward to that happening immediately, but in the next 24 hours, move to complete the process of the appointments so that we can get on with the business of governing this country.
Meantime, Deputy Prime Minister Davis told reporters after the ceremony that lingering roadworks will be one of his priorities.
It is troubling to have the works $100 million overcost, and that's the first issue you'll have to look at. And we intend to call in all the players and have a review of what has been going on. We don't intend to slow down anything. We intend to review what is going on as they're going on, and it depends on our discovery. Then that decision will be made whether it continues or not.
Now, he also explained exactly what the urban development aspect of his portfolio will focus on.
On the inner city, modernizing it, ensuring that the residents within these communities are living in suitable conditions, ensuring that the beautification of these in our inner city is beautified. Because as I said, that people who live in a clean environment used to have a clean mind. If you're in a cluttered and dirty environment, you have a cluttered and dirty mind, which leads to the antisocial conduct I think we're experiencing. At least that's part of the component.
The 2012 general election results have been officially certified by the Parliamentary Registration Department. The Progressive Liberal Party has secured 29 seats and the Free National Movement 9 seats. Clint Watson was there today when Parliamentary Commissioner Errol Bethel announced the final numbers.
But the results are official. The results will not change.
And with that, the PLP's victory is sealed 29-9. Come Thursday, the official results of the 2012 general elections will be gazetted into history, and the writs return to the Governor General, signifying the end to the electoral process. We can tell you that the 2 seats that up until Tuesday night were still being counted are now complete. In Central and South Eleuthera, Damian Gomez of the PLP won by 66 votes over the FNM's Howard Johnson, and in North Andros, Dr. Perry Gomez of the PLP defeated the FNM's Desmond Bannister by over 20 votes. Parliamentary Commissioner Errol Bethel attributed the delay to a long and tedious accounting process.
In a number of these centers, we had a lot of lawyers, and people are questioning just about almost every ballot, and that takes a long time. People were out there up to almost 2 o'clock last night, still going through votes, and almost votes are being challenged by various candidates and agents. But sometimes I think we carry it to the point where it looks as if we're turning it into a court, where the returning officer has to be a judge in each case. Sometimes people even quoting legal precedents, and that makes it very difficult.
Bethel could not say how many people turned out to vote, but estimated the turnout in the high 80s. Having completed the recount, he admits that there are slight changes, although nothing significant. With former Prime Minister Hubert Ingram announcements that he won't take his North Abaco seat when the House of Assembly meets on May 23rd, Bethel asserts that a by-election won't happen instantly.
The by-election cannot be announced at this stage of the game, simply because the House first has to meet, and that meeting is scheduled for the 23rd, and then you have to have a speaker, you have to have members sworn in, and then after that there has to be some communication to the speaker, and so that a vacancy is declared. You see, you have to have a declaration of a vacancy, and then that information has to be communicated to the Governor General.
The Bethel says he's pleased with the performance of some 3,000 workers throughout the nation who participated in his team effort to make this election one that was smooth and transparent. We can also tell you on an interesting twist that persons have already started registering on the existing register. Already this morning, some 3 persons have come in. And while they may be quite early for the 2017 general election, we're told most people come in to register during this time just pretty much to get identification. Clint Watson, ZNS News.
Well, as we heard Mr. Bethel say, the opening of Parliament takes place on May 23rd, and as Carla Palmer tells us in this report, officials are working to get the parliamentary buildings ready for the grand affair.
Along with familiar faces, will be new ones when Parliament reopens on May 23rd under the new government of the Progressive Liberal Party. Former Prime Minister the Right Honourable Hubert Ingram may return to the House of Assembly when Parliament resumes, if only briefly, as he announced his intention to resign frontline politics. However, Clerk of Parliament Maurice Tynes explains that absolutely nothing can take place until a House Speaker is elected.
The former Prime Minister will then have to submit his resignation formally to the Speaker. The Speaker will then declare his seat vacant and vacated. Then the Governor General, he has to inform the Governor General of the vacancy. The Governor General will then sign a writ of election for a by-election.
Still, it's Mr. Ingram's choice to return or not to Parliament at all. The process of his official resignation would reportedly still not be interrupted, as it only requires, through the proper channel, the Speaker of the House being formally informed through a written letter of resignation by Mr. Ingram. According to Mr. Tynes, a by-election must be held within 60 days.
The constitutional limit is 60 days, but the Parliamentary Elections Act shortened that period to 21 to 30 days.
Meantime, the House of Assembly remains under renovation in time for its reopening on May 23rd. Carla Palmer, ZNS News.
Well, more than a dozen new parliamentarians will take seats in the new parliament come May 23rd. Clerk of the Parliament, Maurice Tynes, says all of them will undergo a comprehensive exercise on the rules of Parliament.
We'll try to hopefully go through the whole gamut: dress code, what their emoluments are expected to be. We'll do some parliamentary practice and procedure with them. Like how to move a motion, how do you introduce a bill or a resolution, those little fundamental things.
Now, Free National Movement sources have told us that the party's Central Council is expected to meet at 7:30 tonight. Our news team has learned that senior FNM officials met this morning at the party's Mackey Street headquarters. FNM Chairman Carl Bethel didn't disclose the contents of that meeting when we spoke with him earlier this afternoon, but we understand that party leader Hubert Ingram was in attendance. Yesterday, Mr. Bethel issued a press release indicating that the party's Central Council, along with other party committees, will be involved in the leadership transition, which will be done in an orderly process. We'll continue to follow this developing story. The United States State Department congratulated the new Prime Minister of the Bahamas, the Right Honorable Perry Christie. In a release issued by the U.S. Embassy, state officials indicated that the people of the Bahamas have once again demonstrated their commitment to democratic values that the United States and Bahamas share. U.S. officials believe this expression of the will of the Bahamian people in free, fair, and transparent elections reaffirms the Bahamas' status as a model of good governance, not only in the region, but in the world. The U.S. State Department looks forward to working with Prime Minister Christie, according to the release, as both countries continue to strengthen their partnership and advance common goals for both of our nations. The Organization of American States, OAS, Electoral Commission members say they're satisfied that the May 7th general elections in the Bahamas were free and fair. 12 international observers visited 30 constituencies to evaluate the electoral process ahead of the elections. And during the general elections, they visited 189 polling stations. Chief of Mission Alfonso Quinones told the media that voter participation was high and estimated at about 88%. The OAS chief praised the Parliamentary Registration Department for organizing a smooth and successful process. Additionally, Quinones congratulated Bahamians for the peaceful manner in which they exercised their constitutional rights.
So, how the process was being conducted. So, very professional, very fair, and so our conclusion is that this process was free and fair. Having said that, at this moment in time, the process has not yet finished. There is still the process of recount going on as mandated by the Bahamian law, and we have to await for the results of that process.
The records reflect that some 18,574 more women than men registered to vote. Quinones stated that in moving about throughout the polling divisions, women were dominant figures through the voter participation aspect as well as working the polls. He has made some recommendations which include incorporating more women in the electoral process.
It is a positive feature of the process that candidates are required by law to make a declaration of income and assets in order to be nominated. However, there is no such disclosure requirement for the financing of their campaigns. The mission recommends the adoption of a legal framework on the financing of political parties and campaigns in order to enhance the accountability, transparency, and equity of the democratic process. Second, 2012 marks the 50th anniversary of women voting in the Bahamas. For this election, there were 18,574 more women than men registered as voters. However, the increased participation of women as voters has not yet translated into other key areas of political participation.
Well, still to come in the Bahamas tonight, teachers sit out from school. We'll tell you why coming up.